Guys, this week we're going to be talking about and reviewing main idea, how to find the main idea, what is main idea. I noticed that some of my students are having some trouble with main idea from last week and the week before that, so I created this video so that you guys have a better understanding of how to get into the text and how to find that main idea. So first thing we start with all of our YouTube videos and concepts is we talk about what is main idea. What does that actually mean? Well, it means what the text is mostly about, as you can see right here. Okay, and in order to find out what the text is mostly about, we have to use those close reading strategies. Super important that we try to remember that anchor chart that we had up in our classroom about close reading strategies and how that helped us to become better readers. Because if you use those close reading strategies and you become a better reader, main idea is going to be easier for you to pick out. So clues that help, and this is big one. This is a big one for me because I need those clues. I need to look for something that's going to help me master a concept. So for main idea, when I think about how I'm going to find it, here are some clues that you can use in the text to help you. You can use the title, which is a really big one. This one is like the key to telling us what we're about to read about. We also use headings in nonfiction text, like nonfiction text features. We can also use pictures. We also have to think about repeated ideas, words, and phrases that the author uses. And then, of course, we can look for a topic sentence. Sometimes that's located at the beginning of a text. Sometimes it's even located at the end of a text. But either way, those are some clues that can help us figure out what we're about to read about. The author always gives supporting details to support the main idea. So when we think about a house has a roof on top of it. And underneath the roof, there are walls that help support that roof. Well, that's the same concept as main idea. Main idea is the overall roof of the home. But in order for that main idea or that home to stand strong, there has to be walls underneath helping to support that. That's what those supporting details are. Okay, so another way for us to gain an insight as to what the main idea is by looking for those supporting details. So let's just say you have an idea of what you think the main idea for the text might be. Look for supporting details. Do the supporting details prove what you're thinking? Do they support what you think the main idea is? And if your supporting details do prove it, then most likely your main idea or your thoughts of the main idea are probably correct. So another thing that I want to talk about in this PowerPoint is that main idea is not the same thing as theme. Theme is the lessons that we learn, life lessons that we learn from reading the text. That's not what main idea is. Main idea is what the text is mostly about. What were you mostly reading about? And I noticed that my students were having some trouble with that. So when I asked for the main idea, some students were giving me the theme. And I was very proud to see that they were able to pick out the moral or the lesson of the story, but that is not the same thing as main idea. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So how do we find the main idea? In other words, okay, my teacher puts this text in front of me. She tells me to read it. I have to find the main idea, but what do I do to find it? Well, first thing you do is read, obviously. We have to closely read the text. And so we're remembering those close reading strategies like slow down your reading, track with your finger, have a conversation in your brain about what you're reading, maybe making notes in the margins about what you're reading about, react to the text. All of those things are close reading strategies that are going to help you better understand the text. Then we move on to examine. You have to examine the text. You can do that after you're done reading, and you're supposed to be doing that while you're reading. You have to pay close attention to the topic and the focus. Now, when I say topic and focus, yes, that's right. I'm bringing in writing because reading and writing are married. So think about what we learned in writing. When we talk about the topic of what we're writing about, the topic is just the subject. So for example, a few weeks ago, we wrote about grasshoppers. We knew that grasshoppers was our topic. But I didn't ask you to write about what is a grasshopper. We had to focus in more. What about grasshoppers are we writing? That's considered the focus. Okay, so we zoom in and we focus on one little thing about grasshoppers. So the focus is the same thing when we read a text. Our topic is the subject that we're reading about, but the focus gives more in depth about what we were reading about. Okay, so we have to think about supporting details and main idea. The topic can help support the focus of the text, so that's another thing that you can look for. And be careful, because sometimes authors can be tricky. And sometimes the topic that we're thinking about and the focus that we're thinking about, is there more than one focus? Is there more than one focus for this topic? If so, the author might be trying to give you a clue that there's more than one main idea. And a lot of time in the text that we're reading in 5th grade, there is more than one main idea, and students should be able to pick that out. Just as a quick example about that, think about Joseph Plum Martin that we read about last weekend, or last week rather. We learned about the life of Joseph. We learned that he was a coward and he didn't really want to join the Continental Army. But we were also learning about the Revolutionary War. So there were two stories going on at the same time, and we were learning about both of them in one text. So be careful. Pay attention to the topic. Pay attention to the focus. Is the focus on more than one topic? If that is true, then the author's trying to give you a clue that there's more than one main idea. So after you're done examining the text, look for clues. Like I said, the title, headings, pictures, repeated ideas, words, and phrases. All of those things are clues to help you find the main idea. And then finally, determine your main idea using those text clues. The topic and your close reading strategies determine what did you mostly read about. Determine the main idea or main ideas, more than one. Okay, so here are some examples of what a main idea looks like and what a theme looks like. So we're talking about main idea versus theme here. They are two totally different things. We have to remember that. Main idea, as you know, is what the text is mostly about. Theme is the life lesson that you learn from reading the text. So just kind of saying that, you can hear that they are very, very different. So I tried to include the main idea and the theme of some texts that we've read together and a text that we haven't read together. So thinking about the text from last week, Joseph Plum Martin, the main idea of that text could have been Joseph Plum Martin decided to join the Continental Army and Revolutionary War despite his cowardly feelings. This is what the text was mostly about. Now, if I was asked to give the theme of that text, this is what it would sound like. Never give up on what you believe is right. Okay, so do you see how different they sound? One is telling me what the text was mostly about, and the other one's kind of giving me a life lesson here. They're very, very different. Let's go to the next example, grasshoppers. Grasshoppers can be beneficial to humans because they can be used as a source of food. There's an of in there, and that doesn't make sense. So I made a little mistake there. So grasshoppers can be beneficial to humans because they can be used as a source of food. One of those texts, this is what it was mostly about. Now listen to what the theme or the lesson the author might have wanted us to learn. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge something until you know about it first. In other words, people stick their nose up at grasshoppers when you say, come on, go ahead and eat one. No one wants to do that. But through the text, we learn that they're nutritious. They can be healthy for us. They're just as good as meat. They use less resources. So the life lesson we learn here is don't judge. Don't judge a book by its cover. Very different than grasshoppers can be beneficial to humans because they can be used as a food source. Two totally different things. And then here's the last text down here that you will be reading it this week. We did not read this one yet, but main idea is Shelby O'Neill worked hard to convince companies to reduce the amount of plastic they use to keep our oceans healthy. That's what the text was mostly about. There are supporting details that support that whole idea. Now let me read what the theme or the life lesson that the author wanted me to learn when reading. Set goals and work hard to accomplish your dreams. Again, they sound very different. One is explaining a life lesson that I learned. The other is telling me what the text was mostly about. Okay, again, main idea versus theme. 2 points to consider. First, main idea tells what the text is mostly about. Theme tells the life lesson you learn from reading the text, as we said earlier. But also think about this idea. The author tells us the main idea explicitly. And what that means is the author is writing out through the whole text what the main idea is. The author's telling you the main idea. The author's writing in the supporting details. That's taught to you explicitly. The author is giving you that information. However, when we need to find the theme, most of the time the theme is not in the text. It's something we need to infer. And what that means is we have to guess. We have to guess what life lesson is the author trying to teach us. And we have to infer it by using our schema or our background knowledge, and also the text clues. So as I said earlier, main idea, you need text clues. Theme, you need text clues. But they are very, very different. Okay, so modeling main idea. Think about the text that we read last week, Joseph Plum Martin. And I'm going to go through how I decided what the main idea of the text was. First thing we did, we read the text very closely using those strategies. Next, we examined. We learned mostly about Joseph joining the army and his challenges as he went to war. That was what the text was mostly about. Those supporting details helped me understand that this is what I was reading about most of the time. Okay, and then there were some other clues that I used to help me find the main idea. I used clues like the title, Joseph Plum Martin. Well, that was a clear clue to me that I'm going to learn about someone new. The repeated words and phrases. I kept reading words like war. I kept reading words like that he was scared. I looked for those phrases like dashing for their lives. Things like that were clues to me that this is what I'm learning about, his challenges, his feelings, his fears. And then after reading all of that, I was able to determine that the main idea is Joseph Plum Martin faced many challenges as he enlisted in the army and fought in the Revolutionary War. That's the main idea. Notice how I'm not telling you my life lesson that I learned. Notice how I'm not trying to don't judge a book by its cover or fight for your dreams. No, no, no. That's the theme. That's the lesson I learned. But I'm not asking for the lesson. I'm asking for the main idea or what the text was mostly about. So what was it mostly about? Joseph Plum Martin faced many challenges as he enlisted in the army and fought in the Revolutionary War. Okay, and then to just kind of review what we just went over, main idea means what the text is mostly about. Clues that you can use to help you find the main idea, use the title, use the headings, pictures, repeated ideas, words, and phrases, and look for that topic sentence. Another idea to consider, the author always gives supporting details to support the main idea. Main idea, finally, is not the same as theme. Whoops, I made another mistake in here. Not the same as theme. Theme is the lesson you learned. Main idea is what the text is mostly about. Okay, boys and girls, I hope this clears up some misconceptions for you. Good luck this week.